Aloha, everyone! This is Chesapeake Movie Thoughts. And today I'm going to be talking about my experience yesterday going out to catch a double feature. There's been some great movies coming out for the Christmas season. And, well, since it's Christmas, it's hard to find time to get out to see them. So, yesterday, when I had some time, I did get out, now that Christmas is over. I got out and caught two of them in the same day. I treated myself to a double feature. I saw Aquaman and Bumblebee, hence the little mascot I got behind me here. So Aquaman and Bumblebee, I finally got to see yesterday, and I had a fantastic time watching those movies. I'm going to talk about the first one I saw was Aquaman. I'll talk about that first. And my gosh, that was 10 kinds of awesome. Aquaman was so good. I have to say, I'm with apologies to Wonder Woman, as good as that was, this is my favorite DCEU film to date. Um, it was so entertaining from start to finish. I had such fun with it. Incredible fun. I think, with apologies to The Incredibles too, I think it's my favorite film of 2018. It was it was, well, first of all, like I said, it's fun. It's like it's having fun with itself and taking itself seriously. We need to really, like, I mean, if this is your opinion, that is your opinion, but really, Aquaman is not, it's not silly. Aquaman is not lame. Aquaman is awesome. He's not my favorite member of the Justice League by a long shot, but still, I mean, he deserves to be there. He is awesome. He has awesome superpowers. You say what you want about, oh, talking to fish, that's not a cool superpower. Yeah, the guy can summon an army of sharks. Okay, so back off. But yeah, he's awesome. The character development they got in there was pretty good. I enjoyed the character interactions. Let's say the interactions that, because we see a lot of the people that are important to Aquaman in his life. So his parents are part of it. The love interest Mira becomes a big part of it. And we get some great stuff with that. I always love to see like the superhero's parents. To me, that's like important to know what the superhero is all about. Is to see who raised him, where he came from, and we get to see a lot of that here. We get to see some great action and a lot of it, and the action is, it's very well shot, very easy to follow, and the visuals are beautiful. Oh my gosh, they are amazing to look at. This is an amazing film to look at. And the thing about it, though, that really made it so wonderful for me is that I felt like this movie was bringing in the best stuff from all my like favorite kinds of movies, all like rolled together into one in a way that made sense and made it work. The At the beginning, you get a lot of details about his parents and how they got together, and this is like a fairy tale romance kind of thing going on. So we get this like fairy tale quality to it, and then we go into Aquaman saving a submarine full of crewmen from a pirate attack. That's like straight up superhero stuff. And we get into Atlantis. When you get to Atlantis, you have this underwater kingdom that's been hidden from the real world, that has been, or for the rest of the world, in this universe it's part of the real world, but from the rest of the world, and it's really technologically advanced. It's very sci-fi, very neon sci-fi, so it's very kind of retro sci-fi. So you get this kind of like retro futuristic sci-fi feel to it at this point, with like, it feels kind of like Tron. Feels kind of like the 80s throwbacks in Thor Ragnarok, that kind of thing. But also you feel a little bit of like Black Panther in there too, because you have this very advanced sci-fi futuristic hidden kingdom, much like Wakanda. And then there's also a battle for the throne, the hand-to-hand combat battle for the throne, very much like Black Panther. Then from there, it turns out they need this MacGuffin in order to save the day, and so there's a globe-trotting treasure hunt that feels like an Indiana Jones film from there, and then it all leads up to this epic, huge scale, epic battle like Lord of the Rings. And throughout this, Aquaman Arthur is going through an arc that's very much like his namesake, King Arthur. Like he is the destined king, and he has to realize that and live up to his responsibilities. And my gosh, they made this so much fun. It's like a greatest hits of all like my favorite movie stuff thrown into the one. I loved this. This was incredible. I can't say enough praise about this. I mean, this is... go see it. Go see Aquaman. It is that good. And I think it puts to rest the old idea that Aquaman is lame. He hasn't been since Super Friends anyway, but I think this should finally lay it to rest. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, glowing praise for it. Now, going on to Bumblebee, and as I've said before, and I'll say it again, I am a huge sucker for Transformers. Bumblebee is not really a Transformers movie when it comes down to it, but it's still a really good movie. Aquaman was the star yesterday when I went out to the movies, so Bumblebee had to take second place, but it's still a really good movie. It's not a Transformers movie per se. What it is, and it does it very well, is a throwback to 80s filmmaking. It is an 80s film. Not just in references to the 80s and it being set in the 80s and all of that, but in the style of filmmaking. This seemed like it was an experiment to see if they could recreate the style and the feel of films made in the 80s today and still maintain the modern technology for like special effects. And they were incredibly successful at that, because if not for the visual effects, I could have thought I was watching a movie made in the 80s. And I like movies made in the 80s, so I really did enjoy it. But the movie is much more of something like E.T., with maybe some Short Circuit thrown in with it, and like a touch of like a Karate Kid coming of age story in it. It's most of the movie is centered on this 18-year-old girl who is struggling with the recent death of her father. She's struggling to get over that, and she meets a lost alien who happens to be Bumblebee, who happens to be a Transformer. And in a very like E.T. kind of fashion, they form a friendship, they form a bond, and the two end up better for it. And that's the heart of the movie. That's like 90% of the movie. Now, the other 10% of the movie, like for the first like 5 to 10 minutes, they're setting up the huge epic war between the Autobots and the Decepticons just as background, just as something in the background for this movie. Because in this movie they're going to tell a smaller story, but they set up this huge Autobot Decepticon conflict in the background for like the first 5 to 10 minutes of the film. And this is exactly what I, as a Transformers fan, specifically a Generation 1 Transformers fan, have always wanted to see. That is the movie. That would be the quintessential Transformers movie if that was the movie. But that's not this movie. But you do get the sense like the filmmakers saying that, hey, here's a preview. This is what we could do. This is we know what to do. This is what we could do. But right now we're going to stop and tell a smaller scale story that just happens while this is going on in the background. And there's nothing wrong with that, actually. In fact, it's probably a smart idea, because this is much more character-based. It help you connect with at least Bumblebee, because Bumblebee gets a lot of screen time and a lot of character development. If he's going to be like the lead protagonist in future Transformers films, you could go on to something bigger and more epic with Bumblebee and already have that legwork done of establishing the connection between the audience and your protagonist from this movie here. So yeah, it's pretty smart. It's a pretty smart Transformers movie that isn't exactly a Transformers movie. It's an '80s movie, um, but Transformers are from the '80s. Transformers kind of belong to the '80s, and it felt like a good fit. Even though that we're not getting the kind of Transformers action. When we do get it, it's really good action. It's the designs are totally Generation 1 inspired, which is exactly what I want to see. The '80s setting is Generation 1 inspired. But there's also nods to other continuities. And I have determined, they never really came out and said whether this was a reboot, whether it was part of the Michael Bay movie continuity. I've come to the conclusion that this is a total reboot. There are little connections to the Michael Bay universe that you do see in it, but I've come to the conclusion those are homages. Those are little nods, rather than something meant to ground it in that universe, because the rest of it makes totally no sense. I mean, there's too much contradictions between this movie and what was established in the Michael Bay films for this to be part of the same universe. There is a parallel to that universe going on here, where there are certain nods, certain continuity threads that parallel it. But this is a separate thing, as I see it. Which is good. I think we kind of needed a reboot, because it was previously the continuity had started to go off the rails. Even though I love Transformers, I will go see a Transformers movie, even if the story is bleh, but I will still go see it. But this one, the story was good. It was a reboot. There's little homages to the Michael Bay universe. There's a one pretty big homage to the Transformers Prime TV series. If you've seen that, there's one very very clear parallel, if you're familiar with that series, to that. And then there's all the G1 Generation 1 stuff that kind of that it was kind of built on. This movie was kind of built on. So it's a really good movie. But it's not the quintessential Transformers movie, because the fact that it's a Transformers movie is kind of secondary. It's first and foremost an '80s movie. So it's a very good modern day '80s movie that happens to have Transformers in it. And it could be setting up the quintessential Transformers film. So I was very happy with it. I was not as blown away as I was by Aquaman, but I was very happy with it, and I can still highly recommend it. Okay, great day at the movies yesterday. Great movies coming out here. I have not seen Mary Poppins Returns yet. I'm going to see that at the meetup coming up in a few weeks. And I've not seen Into the Spider-Verse yet. I may not get a chance to see that in the theaters. I may end up seeing it on DVD. But yeah, from what I've heard good things about it. So I am looking forward to it. But man, just Aquaman, definitely you gotta see Aquaman. It's incredible. And Bumblebee, if you like the '80s, if you like '80s style of filmmaking, if you like '80s movies, you'll like Bumblebee. I think even if you don't like Transformers, if you like '80s style movies, you'll like Bumblebee. So big thumbs up for both of them. Like, comment, subscribe, and that's a wrap.